Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 22 of D.A.R.C, or Does Anyone Really Care? The mini review series for Gran Turismo 6, where I'm just doing a quick evaluation of some cars which many GT6 players and GT players in general seem to kind of overlook. These cars don't necessarily get as much love as they deserve, or they're just better than many people assume that they are. And I include myself in this. Oftentimes I underestimate these cars myself, and making this series actually helps me to find underestimated cars also. So in this episode, slightly unusual one compared to some of the other models that have been in this series, the Aston Martin Vanquish, as you can see. This is the original shape Vanquish, which has obviously now been replaced. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the new one. It doesn't have the individuality that this model had, and it's fairly rare to see people use this car on GT6. I can't recall ever seeing anyone use this on Gran Turismo 6 in anything really. Not that I can think of. I can't think of a single time apart from myself. But is it any good? Obviously it's an Aston Martin, which means it's expensive and heavy, but it's also powerful, good looking and quite classy. But obviously being powerful, heavy and a classy motor doesn't generally result in being a particularly good track car, and obviously Gran Turismo is for the most part a racing game. So how does an extremely heavy luxury GT fare in that regard? Well, it's actually far better than I ever gave it credit for. Now, I've been driving this car for a little while now before making this review. I had the car in my garage for quite a long time but never really used it. I was kind of disappointed by its top-end performance, considering its power. The price is around $250,000, so it's pretty expensive, as we said, like all of the Aston Martins are. Fully tuned, you're looking at 581 pp, which is reasonable, actually, for its power. And the fully tuned power is just under 700 horsepower, 692 to be exact, so okay power, nothing that special really in the supercar world. And the weight with the full weight loss package is 1,361 kilos. So even with the full weight loss package, it's still a very heavy car. So what's it like to drive? Well, it's actually really good. It handles the weight and the power far better than I ever expected it to. The handling is actually really smooth, really predictable, almost like a touring car or maybe even a rally car on a road track. It has very dependable, reliable, almost forgiving handling actually, and the weight, instead of making the car feel bogged down, actually makes it feel more stable and more planted in corners. And it doesn't feel like the weight actually slows it down. I mean, obviously it's carrying a lot less weight with the weight loss package, but even with the weight that it still has, it doesn't feel like a heavy car. It feels very nimble. Now, as we said, the power isn't that amazing for a supercar or a super GT. There are plenty of cars in the game which produce far more, like the SLR McLaren, etc. So what's its performance like? Well, top speed's around the 250 region without NOS, so it's okay. Not really anything to write home about, but it's okay. Acceleration is, again, pretty decent for a reasonably heavy car. But it's just the overall package, really, that's good about the Vanquish, and also the fact that not many people use it, which, if you're anything like me, will endear you more to the car, because if you're anything like me, you like to stand out from the crowd rather than just using cars which everybody uses all the time, like Supras and GTRs and Huayras and Veyrons. It makes a nice change to use a car which is genuinely great to look at, sounds great, has good performance, is nice to drive, and is also rare to see people use it. There's just something cool about driving a car like that, or I think so anyway. So overall, it is an expensive car, and it is still a pretty heavy car. But if you haven't tried it out, I would strongly recommend doing so. I would say, in fact, that overall, I think this is possibly the best handling of all of the mass production Aston Martin models. Not sure how I'd compare it to the 177, but I'd say it definitely has better handling than the DB7, definitely better than the DB9, and I think probably better than the V12 Vanquish, to be honest. So overall, it's a pretty good package all in all. So if you haven't tried this car out before, I'd strongly recommend that you give it a try. And that's it, really. So I hope you enjoy driving this car, and see you next time. So as always, thanks for watching.